Good evening. Thank you all for being here. At this time, I'll reconvene the Quinta City Council meeting of December 3, 2013. First item on the agenda is public comment. Anybody wishing to speak on an item which is on the agenda, I'd ask that you please fill out a request to speak form. It's the orange form in the back of the room, and give it to our city clerk up here. At this time, anybody wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda may come up to the podium, and it's yours for 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll move on to our public hearings. We have 4 this evening, and due to a little bit of a problem, we're going to take number 4 first, and then we'll go 1, 2, 3. And then the number 4 item is adopt resolutions to approve a tentative tract map and site development permit and acknowledgement, a determination of exemption for California Environmental Quality Act guidelines 15182 for the construction of a 230-unit residential project on 42 acres within the PGA West community, submitted by resolution 2013-058 and resolution 2013-051. At this time, I'm going to have to excuse myself because I live in close proximity to the development project and that.
And I also have to recuse myself for the same reason from my proximity to my residence project.
And as the senior member of the city council, I guess I'm running this hearing. Thank you all for being here, and forgive me, I did come with a little bit of a cold. I'm going to try to get through this without having a coughing fit, so if you'll bear with me while we'll get through it and do a fine job. So thank you all very much. And with that, we've announced what the item is, and we can have the staff report.
This is a revision to the previously approved Eden Rock project, which was approved in 2008 for 264 units. The revision is for 130 single-family detached and 100 condominium units. The project includes several amenities, including a community building with a pool and bocce ball court. The project site is shown on the map. It's the former resort core for the original PGA West specific plan area. This depicts the planning areas in the original specific plan. The project was within Planning Area 3, which is designated tourist commercial. These are some representative photos around the site of the existing conditions with the perimeter wall, the current gated entry, and the access points along from Jack Nicklaus Boulevard. These are sections of the variations within the project in terms of grade. The upper shows the villa units, which are the condominium units, against the northerly estate units, and the lower is the hacienda unit, which is sited generally along PGA Boulevard, and is adjacent and lower than the interior villa unit. This is a typical section along PGA Boulevard where the hacienda units will be located, which represents the 45-foot setback area that was agreed to between the developer and the homeowners for the rear of the properties. These are the typical product sightings. On the left is the villa condominium units, and on the right, the upper is the estate product, and the lower is the hacienda. These are architectural renderings of the estate's product, 2 and single story. And the hacienda, the same representations. And the villa's product, which are duplex, triplex, and fourplex units. These are the community outbuildings. The community building at the top. On the left is the representations of the gatehouse, and the right is the pedestrian portal, which is outside the gate, in close proximity to PGA Boulevard. The landscape improvements here represent basically the main entry up the upper left, the community center in the lower left, and the open space area, which is the east side of the project near the golf cart access towards the clubhouse area. Staff supports the proposal. We have no significant issues with the project. We've got concurrence from the PJ West Homeowner Association and community group support for the project. The LRB and Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval. And from the California Environmental Quality Act, project's consistent with the specific plan as a residential project. No further CEQA review is required. Staff recommendation would be to adopt resolutions to approve the project. That concludes our staff report. Be happy to answer any questions. I believe the applicant is in the audience as well and can answer any questions.
Questions? Lee?
Yes, thank you. Do you have a site plan on that you could put up on?
No, we don't.
You don't? Okay, well, that's gonna make it difficult. My question is regarding the cart path, on how that cart path is gonna go through that property.
Well, the cart circulation is from the main entry. They'll have transmitter access through the gate.
The cart
Circulate.
path from the golf course standpoint.
From the golf course, they would access through the gate on the east. You bring up under the open space exhibit, there's a pathway shown on the lower right. That's the golf cart access into the stadium clubhouse parking lot. And there would be just to the
Okay.
it'd be in the lower right of that figure. You can see the far right. There's a golf. Maybe see there's a golf cart gate that would be transponder activated and would lead into the development. And the golf carts would traverse the project out to the main entry and vice versa via the controlled stop.
Only those with transponders or units within this project would be able to have a golf cart through that project.
No, I believe I'm not really sure how that would work. The applicant could probably respond to that. I don't know if every golf member would be able to go through the project or not.
Okay, I just didn't know if they're on the golf course, if they could go through this to get outside, or if they have to stay on the golf course, on any golf carts. Okay, that's the only question I have. I'll talk to the developer. Thank you. That's all I have.
No questions? I have no questions. So with that, I will open the public hearing, and at this time, we will take comments from the public. I do have 2 requests to speak. Mary Caldwell.
My name is Mary Caldwell. I live at 57419 Colonial in the PGA West area, and I am representing the Master Association Board for PGA West. We discussed this project today, and the development agreement, which was a key part of the whole project, and we approved the development agreement. It's been signed subject to reviewing some last-minute changes on some of the exhibits which were not included. I might also be able to answer part of the question about the transponders.
If you
Should I do
would,
that?
sure.
That'd be great.
The intention is, as currently constructed, a lot of our members go straight from the public clubhouse to the tournament clubhouse, the public one, the private to the public, and it goes through this development, which is just dirt right now. The idea was that we didn't want to put all those people onto the main PGA West Boulevard because of safety reasons. And so we worked with the applicant, and they have agreed that our club members only who would have transponders on their golf carts would traverse there just to keep them off of the main boulevard, to keep, ostensibly to keep them safer. So it wouldn't be open to the public, it would only be open to people who had transponders on their golf carts.
Did she get you there?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. next is Steve Weiss.
Thanks, Terry. My name is Steve Weiss. I'm also a resident of PGA West, and I've represented a small group of homeowners that have worked with the developer on various issues. As many of you know, this has been a work in progress for about 9 years, and I appreciate Wally's help in moving this forward. But we had some issues about setbacks, about second-story elevation, about density, et cetera, and we're able to work those out successfully with Wayne and his team, Stephen Ford. And our small group has supported the project, and we feel it's time to move forward and get something built on what's been a dirt goal for the last 25 years. So, if you have any further questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I somehow have a feeling that we're all pretty familiar with the piece of property in question here and the progress and maneuvering that has taken place to get us here tonight. So, are there any more questions? Does the applicant wish to make a comment?
Thank you, Madam. My name is Wayne Rimble. I represent Point Larson LLC, which owns the property today. I've actually been involved in the project for a number of years, since 2004, and I've been before you before with extensions to our old Eden Rock project. This site plan and these homes, I think, are a change that addresses the market we have in front of us today. We have a much better plan that includes single-family detached, and our attached product all has master bedrooms down. We've dropped the number of units to 230, 264 in those days. Before we came to the city with our plan, we actually had public meetings at the community, and 3 or 4 meetings, I think we had over 500 people cumulatively that addressed concerns or at least talked about the plan. So, we're excited, frankly, to get this underway. The market now looks like it's to the point where it will either bless it or not. And so we hope that the city thinks that we're on the right path, frankly. I'm here tonight with a prospective partner in California West Communities. Don Fontana's here with me tonight. If you have any questions of us, me, or him, we'd be glad to answer it. And our landscape architect, our engineer is here. If you have any pointed questions. But the question about the cart path, it was a good one. It took us a while to get the solution to that. We also have agreed to widen the cart path on the road itself and restripe it so it's a little safer. And have wider lines separating from cars because it's a little narrow today, we think. Frankly, we're very excited about the plan, about the cities and the staff support of the plan. We're anxious to have your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one question, Wayne.
Yes.
Why the name, how did the signature name come up?
Why did it come up?
Or how did it get developed from Eden Rock to the signature?
We wanted to get rid of the old image and come up with a new one, and we thought this name actually gave us a signature, if you will.
I like it. I just
Yeah,
like to hear the story behind it.
Yeah, no,
How
it
it's
was a
developed.
brainstorming session that I think maybe Stephen Ford came up with, our project manager at the time.
Sounds more subtle.
And while you're there, one of my reactions on being here tonight at this point is the camaraderie and the kind of association that has developed over the last couple of years with the project that's before us. And I think it's all been very positive for everybody, and I think we're all pretty delighted to have it come the way that it is. So I thank you, and I thank the folks out at PGA West that worked so hard on making this a reality. And it may or may not be, because I don't know what the votes are, but we'll go for that next. So thank you very much.
Well, that's part one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, with that, I will close the public hearing, and the matter is before the council.
just, under comments, you know, again, I'm glad to see this project. I think you guys have done a beautiful job, and I really appreciate how you work with PJ West. And to make this work, I like the idea of what you've done with the golf cart path to allow the members to go through. And like I said, it is definitely a safety issue off that main road. So I think you've done a great job, and look forward to the success of this project.
With that, I will make a motion to approve resolution 2013-058, a resolution of the City Council of the City of La Quinta, California, granting approval of tentative track 36537 to subdivide a plus or minus 42 acre parcel into a 230 unit residential project for property located within the PGA West development. Case number tentative track map 36537, applicant Point Larson LLC.
I'll second that motion.
With that, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. That motion has passed. Thank you.
And we have one more, a motion to approve resolution number 2013-059, a resolution of the City Council of the City of La Quinta, California, granting approval of site development permit 2013-924, including site, architectural, and landscaping plans for a 230-unit residential project. Case number site development permit 2013-924, applicant Point Larson LLC.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion passes. Shall we party?
Let's do it. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you, staff, you did a great job.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, get back to work.
Message cleared
Okay, we'll move back to item number 1, and that's adopt an ordinance number 517 to revise Title 8 of the La Quinta Municipal Code and adopt the 2013 California Building Standards Code with local amendments. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is the second reading for this ordinance, so unless you are just dying to hear me drone on about the exciting world of building codes, I'd be happy to go to staff and your choice.
Okay, questions of staff?
I have
No questions? Okay. All right, at this point, the matter's up to the council.
You need to have your public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is a public hearing. See what happens when you go on.
You take a break? No breaks.
Okay, I'm sorry. We are in a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing to any comments that come from the audience. Seeing none, I'll close the public comment, and the matter now is before the council.
With that, Mr. Mayor, I'll move the ordinance number 517, an ordinance of the City Council. The City Council, Tiger, are you going to read it?
You don't have to read the whole thing.
Thank
Just
you.
move ordinance 517.
Perfect. I'll make a motion to move ordinance 517.
I'll second it.
That's quite a bit.
Been moved and second, please vote. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Great report.
Thanks, Greg.
Yes.
Yeah, well done.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 2, and that's adopt resolutions to deny a general plan amendment from low-density residential to general commercial and zone change from low-density residential to neighborhood commercial for a 4.35 acre parcel located at the southwest corner of Avenue 58 and Monroe Street. Staff report, please.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, this is site is southwest corner of Monroe Street and Avenue 58, depicted on the site vicinity map. The current designation of low-density residential is being requested to be amended to commercial designations. There is no physical development application at this time. However, we do have a concept plan showing a 4,000 square foot convenience mart and about 13,500 square feet of retail building space. The site is depicted in photos on the monitor. The looking towards the site and away from the site in the vicinity of the Piazza Serena development. This is the conceptual layout which is used to as a basis for broad brush traffic analysis, or traffic memo that was done for the project. The staff analysis considered several factors, including the size and suitability of the site, service demand, and other factors. Traffic memo that was prepared concluded that the proposed change would not create significant impacts to critical intersections or road segments in the area. Planning Commission considered these requests on November 12th, and based on resident testimony from the Piazza Serena development, they voted 3-1 to recommend denial of the proposal. Staff recommendation, therefore, would be to adopt resolutions to deny the general plan amendment and the zone change, subject to findings. That concludes the staff report, and staff's available for any questions.
Good. Thanks, Wally. Questions of staff? Not at this time. Okay. At this time, then, I will open the public hearing. And what I'd like to do is offer the applicant the opportunity to say a few words to begin with. And also, at the end of public hearings, when we listen to the public, give you the opportunity for any rebuttal. Okay? Please come up. Give us your name and address for the record.
Here we're part of 68700 Calle Estado here in La Quinta. We're land planners and civil engineers for the owner. And really, I think that staff described the project pretty well. A couple of issues I'd like to reiterate and dwell on a bit. You know, the development community is interested in this corner for a commercial development. You know, if not this corner, most likely the other side of the street in the county, probably the northeast corner. And I think if you get into the county, we'll end up with a larger, more intensive retail use on the other side of the street. So I'm not sure this is going to go away even if it's not in La Quinta. But if it's in La Quinta, I think we would get a higher quality development. La Quinta architectural controls would probably, you know, make it certainly more appealing than something we're going to get in the county. And with that in mind, I've got a few photos of some higher convenience markets. Can I put them down and zoom the camera in?
Yes.
Does that work?
It is.
Might have to pass them those.
It used to.
Or some photos I could pass around the council and maybe to some of the members of the audience.
We'll put it there, let's see if we can.
Where's the unmanned air system? Where's the drone when you need it? Where's the aircraft?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Why don't you pass it?
Yeah, this is just an example of projects in other cities, obviously not the county, in the Southern California area where you can see that a higher end commercial market might look like with appropriate landscaping to screen it from neighborhoods on the other side of the street.
These are just other projects in Southern California, North
Exactly.
California.
Rancho Cucamonga and Irvine, I think, is where those are from. But a larger architectural buffer or landscape buffer on the main street would shield the project pretty well from properties 100 feet away.
Is this the same one as that?
Yeah, just closer.
Yeah.
Past that street.
So with that, I'm not sure it's going to answer any questions the council has or for some time to the end.
Questions of the applicant?
Not at this time.
Not at this time. Okay.
Here's your photographs. Thank you.
Okay, we have several people that wish to speak on this item. When I call your name, if you come up to the podium, and please, if you could keep it within 3 minutes, we'd appreciate it in that. And give us your name and address for the record when you come up. David Kraus?
Mr. Mayor, councilmen and women, I moved here about 5 years ago.
Name and address for the
Oh,
record.
I'm sorry, David Kraus, 57890 Residence Court, Quinta.
Thank you.
Family moved here about 5 years ago, looking for a good place to live. Retired, born and raised in Southern California, lived in Orange County for 29 years. Fell in love with La Quinta, fell in love with Piazza Serena, moved there, and happy camper. A few weeks ago, received a notification that we live within 500 feet of where there looked to be a rezoning to change from low-density residential to commercial property. With the commercial property would come deliveries to support any type of business that was there. We're going to have trucks. Everything was by truck. We're going to have trucks. We're going to have lighting in the center for security reasons and so on. I sent you an email of almost everything. However, since then, I did a little homework and I found some information in regards to this is okay. Center for Problem-Oriented Policing, and this is regards to convenience stores. Real quickly, the survey here, or the information was put together by a nonprofit organization comprising with police petitioners, researchers, universities dedicated to the advancement of problem-oriented policing. And I found some information which really kind of opened my eyes in regards to convenience stores, and I'll just touch on some of the highlights. Convenience stores are retail businesses which primarily emphasis placed in providing the public a convenient location for quick purchase of a wide array of consumable products, predominantly food and gasoline services. Okay, the extent of the problem, convenience store robberies account for approximately 6% of all robberies known to the police is in convenience stores. And they comprise of a relatively small percentage. However, the problem is persistent over the 30 years. There's been little change on it. Some stores have been repeatedly victimized, either by the same offender, and they found that they'll come back and rob the same place. Something that's very interesting is that only second to homicides and behind cab drivers is convenience store employees. And that kind of really got my opinion. It's amazing that would happen. And also, when there are robberies, it not only affects the workers, it also affects the people who are shopping in the stores and the area. And word of mouth goes around, and these places have been held up. And I just really don't see why we would need a convenience store with gasoline station there. I really can't see the need. I can't think of any problem where that would be a destination point for consumers in that area to go when they'll head down to Highway 111, where most of the commerce is in the city of Quinta. You have gas stations, Home Depot, Costco, supermarkets, and so on. And just want to bring that to your folks' opinion, let you know that I appreciate it if you would go along with the planning commission and deny his own change.
David, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Did they also, in the statistical data that you got, did this happen at night or during the day, the major holdups?
Mr. Mayor, it did not.
It didn't tell you.
It did not say whether it was daytime, nighttime, or whatever. I did make an extra copy here, if anybody be interested in this.
Do you want to give to our city clerk? She can give it to
I
us.
saw any other questions?
No. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Paul Stronacre? Excuse me if I didn't pronounce that right.
Close enough. I've heard worse. Good evening. My name's Paul Strohacker, 81813 Fiore di Caserto. Yeah, I've been a planning commissioner in 2 different cities, Indian Wells and out in the beach area. Seems to me that, to make a zone change, there has to be a need. I don't see a need here at all. If there's a need, it wouldn't be within the city of La Quinta. It's on the border, it wouldn't be used that much by La Quinta. Most of the traffic in the morning are service people, whatever, coming from the east into Andalusia, Trilogy, PGA West, whatever. And I highly recommend that you deny this zone change. Thank you.
Good. A question, you know, the boundary that you're talking about is in our sphere of influence, which means somewhere down the line, there's a good chance of it being annexed into the city of La Quinta.
Okay.
So somewhere down, but this could be years off.
Well, okay.
I just
If
want
you look at our
a
sphere of
clarification for you.
influence, though, it's very limited going to the east in population. So, you know, I disregard that
A
also.
lot of farmland out there.
True, very, very thin population.
Yes, yeah, we understand. I just want to make sure that you understood that it
Oh,
is in our
absolutely.
sphere and
Sure.
that there is the possibility down the road of it being annexed into the city.
Right. The other thing is, isn't it already zoned commercial at the other end of Andalusia? I don't see the point of doing this at all.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
What do you see that's feasible on that corner, given the electrical poles and the size of little over
I'm
4
sorry,
acres?
what do I
What
see
do
as
you
what?
see that would work on that corner, just in your opinion, based on
Well,
demand or need?
It's difficult with the electrical. That's probably the main issue. But, you know, within a reasonable distance from the electrical, yeah, I see it as low-density residential.
That would blend in with the other developments in the area?
Absolutely.
Just asking.
And also, you know, extending La Quinta's sphere of influence going to the east.
Mhm.
You know, if that stayed residential, you know, obviously it blends in.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we would hope all those power lines would be underground, but it is very costly in that.
Oh,
And
really?
IID, we've dealt with IID on this issue.
No, I understand. They're huge.
Yeah, we don't like them.
Big KV.
So, while you're there, you said within a reasonable distance, or not low income housing, but low
Low density.
thank you.
Residential.
It's up here is
Well,
real
when
dense.
you say reasonable distance, all you have to do is follow the power lines over to IID. And there are residential properties, including mine, that are fairly close to that.
All right, thank you.
In fact, the west side of Piazza Serena pretty much backs up to those same lines when they turn and come across 58th to go into IID. They're almost totally backed up to it.
Okay, thank you.
Charles Clenning?
Glendon.
Yeah.
Mayor, council members, that's Charles Clinton of 8190-790 Fiore del Deserto, across the street from Paul. We also have a dispute with IID about those power lines. When the street was widened, they moved the power lines over our palm trees, and now they want to cut our palm trees down. So, yeah, that's the ongoing dispute right now. This whole zone change situation has been stressful for some of us at Piazza Serena. We have had less than a month to deal with this. Some of our owners still don't know about it. Before you vote, I would like you to consider if it's a good practice to build a commercial project in an area where there's been no residential building activity in 6 years with respect to Piazza Serena and Capistrano. Even longer if you consider what's going on at 58th and Monroe. I'm sure you've seen my letters I passed out. No concrete proposal for 58th Monroe has been submitted, only speculation. Please require a plan with tenants who are interested in their places of business at this site before you approve this change. Thank you. And also consider item number 4, page 2.
Thank you, Charles. Charles Hawkins.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, honorable members of the City Council. My name is Charles Hawkins. I am a homeowner living full-time at 81913 Hill Serenata Drive. This is in the community of Piazza Serena, which is the development located immediately north across Avenue 58 from the property in question here. I would like to voice my opposition to this reference general plan amendment and zone change proposal. It will have, if approved, definitely a significant negative impact on the life of the residents at Piazza Serena. A few examples I can give you. The increased commercial traffic volume of trucks and vehicles, the high intensity lighting that would be flooding the area next to Piazza. Someone earlier mentioned increase in crime. Negative effect on health from breathing gas station fumes and exhaust emissions. Continuing decrease of already depressed property values. The ingress and egress for Piazza Serena is very close to this corner. This will create an additional difficulty for residents of Piazza Serena, as Piazza Serena hopefully continues to get built out, where you might have as many as 200 or plus 250 cars trying to get out that one lane into the traffic coming up to the stop sign there. And Piazza Serena has 96 lots. Approximately 60 of them are vacant lots at the present time. This zone change would severely delay or even end future development of Piazza Serena. And Piazza Serena would then become an eyesore for this gem of the desert that we live in. I believe that the negative impact to Piazza Serena and the city of Quinta, if this project were to be approved, would be greater than any benefit it may approve. And I am submitting to you that the rezoning is not necessary based upon the availability of undeveloped commercially zoned property already existing in close surrounding areas. Someone already mentioned Avenue 58 and Monroe Street. I'm not against progress that would enhance the welfare, quality of life, and beauty of the Quinta. I am against unnecessarily changing zoning from residential to commercial when a need has not been proven. And I appreciate the fact that some photos were brought for so that we can see other projects. I have not seen those photos. However, I would submit at this time that projects done in other cities are not really relevant to the physical location at Avenue 58 and Monroe Street. The plan that I see presented has specifically the gas station within just a few feet of my backyard. And that concerns me greatly because I plan on living and retiring and dying here in the Quinta. I love this beautiful place.
Not very soon.
Thank you, Mayor. And we know that Mr. Honorable you all want what is best for the residents of La Quinta. And with all due respect, I'm requesting that you please do not approve changing the zoning of this reference property from low-density residential to general neighborhood commercial, as I do not see that a need has been proven. So I'm requesting for you to please consider leaving the zoning of this property to its previously approved construction of single-family dwelling. If there are no questions, that concludes my comments.
Questions? Yeah. Thanks, Charles.
Thank you.
Roger Greenwald?
Mine's as big as our one.
Well, I didn't do an exhaustive study. I apologize. My name's Roger Greenwald. I live on Hills Granada, 81805. I'm the guy who lives under the power lines. They're not all that bad. Anyway, a couple weeks ago, I got to go to a zoning board meeting. I don't know exactly what the language is that you call them here. It was interesting, and it was quite an experience. And to preface this, I'm your friendly neighborhood scientist. Okay, what I do for a living is I'm a physicist, and I work on medical devices, have for way too long. And so doing research is something that's sort of inbred. Okay, it's probably the wrong word. In any event, at our meeting a couple weeks ago, the conversation was very similar to what you're hearing tonight. Folks expressed their dislike for fumes and health hazards and noise and light and property value decline and all those sorts of things. And frankly, we lost that argument. The reason that you got your note was based on a lack of need, frankly, right now. And Mark Weber, I believe is the fellow's name, who actually voted in opposition to what we were saying, said something that was really lovely. He said, you know, I'm hearing a lot of opinion. No one's bringing me any facts. And so in the immortal words of my wife, in God we trust, everyone else bring data. So I brought you some data. So first thing I did was, in no particular order, I'll try to go as fast as I can. I have sent you a letter. This is the stuff that's backed that up. I've also got you the photos.
We don't want to read what you're backing up.
I will not.
Okay, thank you.
It's colossally boring. And unless you're a geneticist, it's also colossally hard to understand. But let's start off with building a station, increasing pollution and hazards to health. Well, you know, we all have gas stations. I've got 9 documents which are archival peer-reviewed journals that talk about what happens when people work at gas stations. And suffice to say, they have, in order, visual degradation, hearing loss, leukemia, Parkinson's, and non-Hodgkin's lymphomas at rates higher than folks who don't work in gas stations, higher than traffic police, higher than most other professions. This comes from benzines and light aromatics that come off of gasoline. The state of California did publish something saying it's okay to be within 50 feet of a gas station. It was published in 2005. That's old data. This is newer data, and there is a clear and present health hazard from gasoline stations. Less if you're farther away, more if you're closer. Moving on to increasing crime, you've already heard my neighbors. I have that paper and another one. Mine come from this organization, a little known, called the U.S. Department of Justice, and basically acknowledges the higher crime rates at mini marts and gas stations, irrespective of things like increased lighting, which is a normal thing people do, increased based on 30 years of experience with crime fighting and trying to do environmental changes, which don't help. Apparently, these are crimes of opportunity. They happen, and it's fun reading. Then the question came up about decreasing property values. Why would we expect that to happen? Well, we all know intuitively that having a higher crime rate would reduce property values, but there's actually publications on this where people have quantified it. And there's one called Do Crime Rates Affect Housing Prices? There's another one, which I did, which is kind of fun. I don't know if you know, if you go online and type in crime map, you can look at crime map of La Quinta or anywhere else in the United States. And so I did that, and I put together a map for you. surprisingly, it happens where there's more commerce and there's more population. Within the general surround, a couple blocks from Quinta, there was none. Now, it only lets me do a month at a time. If it please you, I will be happy to give you a couple of years worth of that data. I think that you would find that in an unpopulated area with no commerce, there's no problem. So it's only got one way to go, and that's not there. Then we talked about noise pollution. And so what we were told was, you know, you've got I-80 next door and they're really noisy. Well, it happens that I have equipment to measure noise, so I did that. And in the measuring I did a Sunday and a Monday, that gave me a day when there was no commerce and a day when there was. On the Sunday, the average noise reading all day long was at 40 or less dBA. What that means to you is that's an equivalent noise to what you hear in a library. Okay, the other Serena is quite, coincidentally, I live right on 58th, so my neighbors who live deeper into the facility would have less noise, presumably there's less traffic noise. The noise on Monday went all the way up to just under 50 dBA, which is normal conversation at home. That doesn't mean we're having an argument, it means we're conversing. Well, yeah, I'm married. You know, it can be louder than that somehow, but that's not the norm. And so the question is, with having a new gas station and mini mart increase the traffic? And the answer is, well, you know, of course it would, but we can calculate it, okay? And so what we did is I took a look at what the state of California publishes for how many gallons of gas come out of a typical station that was in 2011. They don't have newer data, so it's old data. It's probably more now, but maybe not. And when you take that and you say, well, how many gallons do you put in your tank when you fill it? I pick 20 gallons. You know, neither of my cars will hold that, but I figured there's no point in building this. Let's be conservative. I come up with on the order of 200 cars coming in and going out each day for the gas station, 365 days a year. And depending on how many hours are open, that's the increase in traffic load. That does not include people who might go to the main mart. If they're to stay in business, I will assume that they'll have some traffic. I could do a count if we don't. Light pollution. So we've been told that we won't have light pollution because of our sky ordinances, and that may well be that if you're flying over the gas station, you won't have any light pollution. However, in order for the gas station to be seen from the road, the gas station has to be illuminated. Typically, they illuminate down. There's a roof over the top, which also becomes illuminated. In the paper, you will see a photo of a gas station, which is located a couple blocks walking distance from here. It's the smallest station I could find that doesn't belong in an area that has lots of other lights. And in an optical guy, I brought my photometer and I measured the light. Hey, you know, you want data. Actually, even yesterday, it was it. So I measured it. And then on the same evening, I went home and measured the light in my backyard. And there's about 160 times brighter illumination. That's the illumination hitting you, so not looking at the lights, but looking away from the lights. 160 times brighter. I took photos, there's a photo in there. I tried taking a photo with the same settings on my very high-end camera in my yard under the same settings. There was no point in showing you that because if you close your eyes, that's what you see was black. And just two last items, so I got data. We were chastised at that meeting for not having done due diligence. We were told that had we done due diligence before we purchased our property, we would have realized that that property was going to become commercially zoned eventually. And being a cynical young New Yorker that I used to be, New Yorker anymore.
New Yorkers are not innocent.
Cynical.
New Yorkers are cynical.
For sure. But I've been in California for 13 years. What I would suggest is that perhaps Mr. Hammer didn't do his due diligence when he bought his land. He would have noticed that it wasn't zoned commercial, and nothing else was. None of us in the community, to my knowledge, have been notified by anyone other than the city with regard to any of these changes or the proposals. There was no discussion, very different than the BJ West process where people were brought in and had a discussion, looked at land plans and all those things. And then, as a parting statement, here, they're gonna build it across the street, and it's gonna be worse. And as someone who's owned some land and done some construction and stuff, I am confused as to why if I build it here, they won't additionally build it there, and the land which is already zoned for it. And you say, is a gas station on 58th different than a gas station on Monroe? And the answer is yes. Okay, it's 200 feet farther away, which has some advantages, but also it is not facing the entrance to the community. It is off to the side. It has a larger buffer zone. So I have this information for you in print. I have included a electronic copy for you, and a copy as the FDA is on their calling, which is mastered to you on any computer. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Oh, you asked? I asked about what else you could do with that land. That wouldn't cause Mr. Hammond to lose all his money, and he can't build houses there. I haven't spoken to anyone here about this, but solar farm.
I'm sorry, what did
The
you say?
solar farm?
Yeah, why not? It's 20
All
acres
the
of solar
grids?
panels.
And all the panels, that's a visual.
They'd be facing south, which is not facing our houses or anything else. Okay, dead palm trees don't look particularly lovely either. And they look okay. They'd be facing it.
They will face somebody.
No, they actually face the community's wall that's behind it. The people that were asked if they minded having the project who said no, don't care because the entrance to their community is a mile away. Okay, we're looking at the plan. This is facing that wall of the golf course. So it's not my best idea.
Roger, I can't resist, and that, I'm an architect by education.
Yes, sir.
I worked 35 years for Shell Oil Company, designing and building about 10 years of that time. Gas stations, retail, aviation, marinas, things like that. And I built in places like San Marino, Beverly Hills, Brentwood, really upscale neighborhoods and that. I had the same problem with people. You know, they're very concerned, and I was too. When I met with the applicant or talked to him on the phone, I said, a gas station will never fly in that area because you can't pump enough gasoline to make it profitable. And I said, you know, a service station, you see, they're open 24 hours a day. You know, and I know, because I live in that area, that when it gets dark, there ain't no more traffic out there. You could shoot a cannon and never hit anybody, and the station would have to be closed because they couldn't keep it open. And to me, it's just unfeasible, a gas station. I worked with a developer at Madison and 58, so that corner there, which would be the southeast corner, and it's a commercial area and trying to put in a facility. He wouldn't tell me the retail, but I think it was Fresh and Easy and that, but he wouldn't commit to that. But they did their due diligence to understand, and they said, it won't fly. We can't make enough money. It just, although in the wintertime, the need is there for you to run down to the store and get a quart of milk. Well, look how far Andalusia or Trilogy has to go to get a quart of milk. They have to drive a long way. So a little retail store would be good in there, but financially, it's not feasible. That's the problem. And somewhere down the line, when development grows in that area, you're going to have a need for a retail facility in there. I don't think a gas station, I don't think that's, to me, it'll never fly. But a retail where you've got a small, and I don't want to say strip mall because I hate strip malls, but a facility that is indicative of the neighborhood and landscaped properly, and it can be done. It can be done right, but it's not today.
Yes,
It just won't fly today.
Another restaurant.
Okay, thank you.
I don't disagree with anything you say.
All right, well, I had to bring it up because working for Shell for 35 years, I'm pretty well aware of the needs of gasoline, because remember when we had the crunch and you had to wait in line to buy gasoline and that? Boy, I'll tell you, everybody was after us to build a gas station.
This goes to...
Yes, give it to our city clerk. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Brett Pagano?
Is that okay?
My name is Brett Pagano. I live at 57810 Residential Court in La Quinta. Mr. Mayor and council members, I was one of the original salespeople selling the homes at Piazza Serena for K-Albanian Homes. It was the original builder in there. And at the time that we started, we were told across the street was zoned residential. So anybody who came in as a purchaser or a prospective purchaser was told that the zoning across the street is residential. Obviously, things can change, but they would bought a home thinking that that was going to be residential over there, not thinking that there was going to be a gas station. I agree completely with what you say, Mr. Mayor. It's not ready for really any retail outlets, but if there is a retail outlet, it should go where the commercial is already set up on Madison 58th, where there's two corners already set up for small retail stores or whatever have you, instead of taking something that is zoned for residential and changing it to commercial. In my opinion, the only benefit that it would ever make of having a gas station there is at some point in the future, it would benefit the owner of that gas station and nobody else. Nobody else on any side. And if they need to build a gas station, years from now, they can go ahead and build it on across the street as was mentioned. You know, I, as being one of the first homeowners of Piazza Serena, have had a lot of heartache over the last 8 years, and irrespective of what the real estate market has done to our homes, but just with the fact of what the way that K-Albanian conducted business there, the lack of putting in the facilities in time and doing what was required of them on time, to giving up the property to somebody else coming in and trying to put in new product and trying to get approval for new product and trying to put parking lot directly behind my home, to wanting two-story homes or view decks and things like that, to finding out a month ago that now they want a gas station across the street. And I urge each of you to deny this on the basis of it's not going to help anybody else, and it's not needed at this point. And I urge you to deny it and to deny the request to change it from residential to commercial. And, you know, I want to add a couple things too. I thought Commissioner Mark Weber was completely unprofessional at the commission meeting, trying to put the onus on us as residents to go and find out, and obviously somebody did do that, but it's not the residents' job to go out and do due diligence to make sure that something is not going to adversely affect them or their community. That is actually what I think the commission is for. For him to state that that is what's required, I think is completely unprofessional. And the other thing is, and I've made this known, and attorneys may get involved and say differently, it's my belief if you are on a commission with a prospective city, you have no right doing business in any land deals in that city while you're on that commission. And you know what, if you want to do land deals, then don't be on a commission. If you want to be on a commission, don't do the land deals. I don't think the two go well together. There's too many things that can be thought of. You know, there's a lot of back scratching in this world and in this country. And I just think it leaves it open to interpretation. And again, I urge you to please deny the approval to change the zoning. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Brett. Don Emoto?
My name is Donald Emoto. I live at 81795 Fiore Del Deserto in the Piazza Serena development, which is on the northwest corner of 58 Row. Our development's entrance and exit is on Avenue 58. If we take a right on 58 and a right on Madison, we're going to La Quinta. If we take a left on 58 and a left on Monroe, we're going to Indians. And I think it makes better sense to develop a property, commercial property on 58 and Madison to keep as much traffic
Thanks, Bill. Is it Justin Burke?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Justin Burke. I reside in Encinitas, California. I represent the landowner for the remaining vacant 60 lots within the Piazza Serena community across the street. And my comments tonight are be very similar to the comments I made at the Planning Commission a few weeks back. And that is, I think that we're in opposition to the zone change, the general plan amendment, and I think the correct thing for you guys to do is what the Planning Commission did, deny this request. For several reasons, but primarily because there are a number of required findings pursuant to the Quinta Municipal Code that I don't believe this zone change meets. And a couple of those principal findings are compatibility with adjacent sites. And then if you look at the map there, you know, the property will be surrounded on 3 sides by low-density residential. And from a planning perspective, from a developer's perspective, from a resident perspective, having low-density housing directly next to commercial development is just something that creates all kinds of environmental and potential nuisances that aren't mitigated. I think it takes away a great opportunity. We talked about, well, what can you do with this piece? I think it takes away the opportunity to develop that 40-acre parcel on the corner as residential, because now you have the balance of that site directly adjacent to the commercial. So I think it makes it much harder for that entire 40-acre piece to get developed ultimately. Secondly, and this is one of the findings of the Planning Commission, was that there wasn't a change in circumstances that supported the change of zone since the last general plan amendment was done, which is just earlier this year. There wasn't a need at that time to change this piece to a commercial zone, and I think there still isn't a need, and we've heard about that this evening. There's 80 acres of commercial property within 1 mile of this site that's undeveloped, so I don't think there's a need, and there's no change in circumstance. And finally, you know, from a CEQA perspective, there's all kinds of problems with the way this environmental document was put together, and we had submitted a letter, actually 2 letters, one from TNV Planning and one from Shepherd Mullen, that identifies in detail the problems with the CEQA process here. I won't go into any details with that because it would take quite a while, but it just wasn't done correctly, and I think there's some fundamental problems with that. So we urge you to vote no on this zone change.
Thank you, Justin. Joe? Howard?
You mind if my wife went first?
No. Kim?
Kim Hammer, 45510 Celia Drive in Wells, California. I wish that original plan never had a gas station on it, because we don't even know if there's going to be a gas station on this. It may end up being more like what, and these folks have heard it, more what we had in Indian Wells with Eureka on the corner, you know, just a smaller version of Don Diego's, a beautiful fountain, maybe a beautiful fire pit, a coffee shop. I mean, kind of a gathering place for that area, which it's really lacking right now. Beautifully landscaped, high-end, Spanish, you know, kind of that La Quinta look like you have at your Vons. We don't even know if there's going to be a gas station there. I mean, it's probably going to be dictated by economics. And I'm hearing what people are saying about crime. I mean, some of those crime numbers are somebody stealing a tube of toothpaste. I don't think it's necessarily, you know, gunpoint or robberies or rapes or anything like that with commercial. I'm not sure there's data there to support that. You know, what's there now? We have people dumping on it. We have people pulling up their cars and drinking in their cars. I mean, it's not the greatest environment as it exists undeveloped either. At least if it's developed, we have, you know, some activity, which I think gives you a little security with people coming and going. I lived behind Ralph's in Indian Wells for 15 years. The noise never bothered me. I loved walking to the grocery store. I loved having the restaurant there. The entrance to this is 250 feet away from the exit to this development. So it's not 5 feet away, it's 250 feet away. And then but my understanding is it's 250 feet away, is that correct? I mean, it might be across the street, but it's a pretty good distance. So 250 feet, I don't know how much you can hear from 250 feet away. My guess is not a whole lot. So I mean, I I'd like you to understand, we're not thinking strip mall, we're not thinking a big truck stop, we're thinking nice restaurants, higher end, to go with the higher end developments that are out that way. And if it's a gas station, it'll be something like what they do in Beverly Hills or Brentwood, you know, those kind of areas where they're well buffered, you almost drive right by before you can even see them.
You don't
It
see
can be
'em.
moved to a different part of, it doesn't have to be on the corner, maybe it gets pushed over to the side. Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily, I guess, and we tried to talk about this at the meeting the last couple of times, what's on that picture that was drawn isn't necessarily what we're asking you to approve. That was just conceptual. There may be no gas station. There may be nothing but retail and restaurants. So I just think it's important for people to understand that what we're asking you to approve isn't what's on that map. It's just the opportunity to pursue some different options. And we can't do that without the zoning. And we just can't spend years and years talking to people and not knowing, without even the zonings, they won't even talk to us about it. I think it's just a natural corner for some kind of commercial. And as I've told these folks, we own the 17.5 acres adjacent, or our family does. We have more of a vested interest in that being nice probably than anyone else in the area because we own the adjacent property. So of course we want something nice. We don't want something that will make the values go down. We want something that will improve the whole area. And I really think having something there will make that property more valuable because there's no services. And there are people that object not to having services out there. You know, it's a deterrent to buying in Ana Lucia or Trilogy or even your development. I mean, they want a coffee shop and they want a place to stop and pick up a quart of milk or to go to dinner and not worry about driving home or to be able to walk and create more of a neighborhood feeling out there. So, those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe?
My name is Joe Hammer. I live at the same address that the pretty woman just spoke from. 21 years, by the way. Can everybody hear me all right? Okay.
That's the microphone, yes.
You know, I don't quite know where to start. I'm the gentleman that owns the property on the southwest corner, 58th and Monroe. And I got scolded by the planning commission a few weeks ago for not meeting with the neighbors. And so we have met with the neighbors now, the best I can. Now I want to address a few comments that I had, and the meeting was last evening, the second of two meetings actually. Why did I buy this property in the first place? I've only tried to buy it for over 18 years, and I was finally successful. I was so upset with myself a few years back when the southeast corner came available, which is in the county. It's directly across the street from this piece of property, where there's goats and cattle and a lot of, you know, it's a little barrio type community. And unfortunately, those goats back up to a 40-acre piece that I own right to the south of it. So I made a decision when this 4.5 acres came up for sale, I wasn't going to make the same mistake and not be able to control at least the destiny that we have in La Quinta. So by buying the 4.5 acre piece that we're speaking about tonight, that gave me a lease control from 58th Street to 59th Street. Now, I'm not too worried about 59th Street frontage because it's the most beautiful land to see a condominium project you want to see. But I sure didn't want to see another rundown situation like I have across the street now. So that answers the questions that people wanted to listen last night. That was one reason I did it. Another questions from last night. Why don't you donate it to the city of La Quinta to make a park out of it? Why don't you folks buy it from you, give it to the city and make a park out of it?
You should have been here earlier when we dealt with landscaping and lighting and landscaping district.
Yeah, we can't afford another park.
No, that's right.
How about a solar park? The third thing was, why don't you build apartments on this property? Well, if you think there isn't a need for a gas station, Mr. Mayor, There really isn't any place to put people out there right at the moment. I'm in the apartment business and I'd like to do it, but maybe someday. What else came up last night? If I promise on eye to eye, which one woman came up to me, eye to eye, she goes, if you promise me that you will not put a gas station on this property, I'll get up tonight and I will support this project. And she spoke pretty verbally against it the last time. I heard that a couple other times outside the meeting last night also. Now let's talk about, you've heard all the opposition here from across the street. I met with the people to the south of us, and I was corrected, it's Anna Lucia, but I call it Anna Lucia, so I'm not quite sure exactly how.
I do too.
But I met with them last week also, and by the way, they've sold quite a few homes in there, and they are very much in favor of a little center on this corner. We've spoke with the people from Trilogy. Now, keep in mind, we're hearing voices here tonight, and the Planning Commission did also saying that you're hearing opposition, but there's a lot of pro for this also. Trilogy has shown support, and Lucia has shown support. My neighbor to the west of here, back adjacent to the property we're speaking of tonight, is in support of this. I can't make this property do what I need to make it do if I don't have the zoning change on it. Gas station. One of the planning commission said, boy, I bet you wish you'd never taught gas station. Probably should have never taught gas station. But the problem was, folks, when I bought the property, that's what I kept hearing from everybody, that they wanted a gas station out there. So believe me, our staff, and I mean your staff at this city, which is really fantastic, by the way, I mean, they're tough. They are really tough, and they put me through the ringer on this. And we talked and talked and talked. And so they asked us to finally put a piece of paper down. Here we go. So I had Haywood, draw something. We have some other drawings too, if you'd like to see them, that look more like the Beverly Hills Brentwood type thing. They had them there at the meeting last night. Nobody had any interest in looking at them, but they were there. As my wife said, my mom and dad own the 17 and a half acres to the south. Why would we want to do anything silly on this 4.5 acres that would hurt my 17 and a half acre property? Why would I want to do anything silly that would hurt my 40 acres directly across the street that someday, hopefully, Mayor, we get into the city? I mean, why would I want to hurt my property values? The fellow that got up and spoke today for a little while ago, and he's also at the Planning Commission that represents the owners of the vacant lots across the street. The reason I couldn't talk to anybody about those 67 lots, because nobody owned them. The property had failed. And I made every effort, and I did talk to the real estate broker that was handling it. I let him know in detail what I was trying to do, and he thought it would be beneficial to that area. So it's kind of, I hate to say it, but I kind of got sucker punched at the Planning Commission, because I think, here we have Anaclesia that's in favor, we have Trilogy that's in favor, we have my neighbor to the west that's in favor, the real estate agent that was representing that property showed favor. And of course, I could have other people that are on the county side that would really want to have something, but, and then we have these neighbors across the street, very nice people. By the way, I think you'll see some letters that were sent, at least I got a couple today, from a couple couples last night that thought this would be fantastic. And they told me a big long story last night, how they got attacked by a big pit bull, in that area, because we shared stories about being attacked by pit bulls because I've been attacked myself. Anybody that knows me, oh, by the way, I'm a villain here for knowing everyone on this council. I'm a villain for knowing every single person on the Planning Commission. I'm a villain for being around the city since its inception. You know, they think that I have some special power over everybody, which is so silly. We all know how silly that is. So, nobody has fought for property values and rights and doing the right thing in this city more than I have. Frank knows that. We've got the city manager, we've dealt many times in different discussions. And have I not been on board, Frank? I dealt with our city attorney a few times, but it edits a few times, but we've always got along. You give me my zoning on this property, and you will see something happen on this property. Will it happen next week or I'm being told by professionals that do this that I'd be lucky to have something in front of you folks in 2 years. And believe me, if I do get the zoning tonight, which I really hope you give it to me, then I will work with these neighbors. They'll get to know me so well that they'll have their fingers in this project. Nobody knows that more than me. We did it years ago on 111. And my gosh, did we get together and we really did some beautiful stuff up there in the 111 corridor. City of Indio, I dealt with them. Now Jackalope Branch. By the way, opposition from neighbors, it would never go over. Well, there's probably one of the nicest restaurants in the valley sitting in Jackalope Branch in Indio. I was thinking today, because I was quite uptight about talking to you folks tonight, you know, give me these folks behind me don't know who I am, but I've got nice plaques and articles in the paper, not asked for, of the things that I have done. Right. If you look up here, and I'll get off the stage here pretty quick, but if you look up here on that where my project site is, and if anybody would drive out there, what's the nicest piece of ground as we speak? It's my 58th Monroe 40-acre piece. It's a nice green property. Why isn't the 17 and a half and this new 4.5 acre look just like the green piece across the street? Because it's in the city of La Quinta now. And if I don't get my zone changed, you know, I can't farm this property any longer. And I'd like to farm it if you turn me down. And meanwhile, I got people out there dumping. And if you look at the map of my mom and dad's piece there, all those nice little clear areas, that's from bulldozers out there picking up trash. I have caught drug addicts out there. I've caught migrant workers out there. We've had all kinds of problems over the years. We have to go forward. This is not going to happen overnight, folks. 111 corridor did not happen overnight. I heard opposition way back in the 70s that it would never go over, and of course that's what's silly, because look how it's been so successful. This corridor will be a successful corridor if you give me the zoning rights on it. I don't know what else to say. I really would like you to give me my zoning, and I promise you, I'm not going to put a solar farm on this, by the way. I think what else I wanted to say, one more thing. You know, since I'm guilty as charged, am I doing this for profit, or do I hope to make a profit? Do I hope to make money? Yes, I do. But I will make a commitment to the city tonight. If you give me this zone, because everybody's so convinced that I'm going to buy this or get this new zoning done, and I'm going to go out there and sell that to somebody. I'll make a commitment tonight that I won't sell that property for a minimum of 3 years from the time you give me my zoning. Well, I'll tell you what, I just turned down a substantially nice offer for the properties. And I did turn it down, and it's an absolute truth. And people think I'm in this thing for the short term. I'm not. I have a daughter 18 years old and a daughter 16 years old, and I'm trying to. We are people that have owned property in this area for a long time. And if I was just going to turn around and make a quick buck, I would have probably sold it when things were really cooking here about 5 years ago.
Joe, you need to wind it down.
Please give me my zoning so we can make something happen. And by the way, it wouldn't be too bad for the city. They make a little sales tax revenue on this stuff too. And we could use a little more money, couldn't we? Thank you so much.
Pixie Scott? Pixie?
That was nice to listen to, but I live right there, right where that yellow patch is, but it would be about 3 houses down from the corner. We have a catch basin, another house in mine, with model homes there. And when I moved out there, I wanted to know what was gonna go across the street, because it's so nice and dark out here. I'm from Orange County. We never saw a star the whole, how many years we were out there, because the marine layer comes in. And we could never see the mountains because of the smog. Until the Santa Ana winds came, we didn't see a star, and we didn't see a mountain, right? And that's the truth. So I came out to visit my son, and it was beautiful and dark, and you could see the stars. And we sat down there, he lives just down that street, just past the Polo Estates, and I sat out there, and it's dark, there's no street lamps anywhere, there's stars. So when we came there, I said, well, what's gonna be around here? Oh no, that's low density housing. There's never gonna be any of that. So we're gonna have this darkness, no street lights, none of that. That's right. So when they talk about, oh, it'll be a nice place at night with restaurants and stuff, that doesn't sound good to me, because those are lights in my windows. That's coming in my backyard. And I don't want that. And that's what we tried to make sure wasn't gonna happen. They said, no, they have the stores are gonna be down at the corner of Madison and 58. They're not gonna be here, don't worry about it. So with that, we bought the property. We had it for 2 years, and we retired finally out here. Now we get a slap in the head, and they're trying to tell me how nice this place is gonna look, but all I hear is that there's gonna be lights on all the time, and there's gonna be a lot of traffic. Now, said Mark, whatever his name is, from that commission, he says, well, you should have known it was gonna change it to something else. Well, no, we didn't. We didn't know it was gonna change it to anything else. We were told that's low density, and when we came and visited around here, and everybody said they came up here and checked with you all, and you said it was. They also told us that they were gonna take down those horrible light poles, you know, the ones that were down, you know, from the IID, that they were coming down too. Then we called IID, we went over there after we moved in, and they said, no, the city council said that they approved it to stay up. So they're not gonna come down. That's what they told us at IID, that you approved it, so that's a lot of that. So we don't want this to happen. We don't want our lights coming on. We don't want that kind of traffic coming. And we've said before that we didn't like the idea of all this black soot from the road, from the gas station, from all that coming into our houses, coming in the backyard. I mean, if it's just housing there, it's not going to be anything more than what it is. It's dirt now, and that's okay. But the idea of gasoline and road dirt from a gas station that I don't believe him that he's not gonna put one there, because I think he's going to. So they said, well, none of this was, I said it's carcinogenic, and he says, well, you don't have any proof. Well, for 20 years, I was a trauma ICU nurse, and then for the last 15 years, I did cancer chemotherapy in Orange County. And so for just addressing the cancer thing, I looked that up to do, because benzene is a thing, and I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I know he's addressed that. But the one thing that is important, if you go ahead and look on that site, the one thing it said was that the one place that it's a problem is if it's in enclosed areas, but also on roads near gas stations. That's the thing that is, and it's a hazardous to your health. And I can read you the whole thing about benzene and what it does, but I think you probably already know that. Number two, there was something about the crime in the area and what kind of crimes. Well, in a trauma ICU, I can tell you what comes in at night and where it's coming from and what kind of problems. It bankrupted Mission Trauma Unit. Sisters of St. Joseph. Catholic Charities had to take it over because it was bankrupted by criminal activity all night. And you want to know what they're doing? They're going to gas stations because they've got mini marts in there and they want munchies. That is probably clear to everybody what munchies are for. That's the gang activity. And my one thing that just may impress somebody, that I spent 4 years would dare to say no to drugs and alcohol at Laguna Hills High School, where my son went to school. And I can tell you, working with the sheriff's department there in the gang units and the drug units, that's where they are. They're at all of those places. To hear that they're going to be across the street, it doesn't make me happy. And I can believe me that not one person from Andalusia or Trilogy or the Palms or our place, Piazza Serena, or Rancho Santana is going to go out in the middle of the night to get gas, ever. And we've got Kennedy's. Nobody seems to know about Kennedy's. Kennedy's is between 54th and 58 on Monroe. It's a store. You can go there and get breakfast burritos, I guess. My husband does that.
They're good.
Yeah. And so we've got what we need. And I timed it today from Ralph's, where we have coffee shops, a Mexican restaurant, Postal Annex, CVS, what is it?
They got
Every place.
They got a golf store.
Yeah, right. We have, it's 6 minutes to my store, my front door, so we don't need any of that. So, and I don't need those lights. And the idea that they can make it look nice and everything else, they're gonna bring lights and cars and noise and everything. I won't be able to sit outside and watch the stars and look at that and feel that breeze at night. My little dogs in the breeze. It's so wonderful. That's why I moved here, and that's gonna be destroyed by that. Apartments is worse. That's trenches coming in there. The idea that it's low density, sell it, build a little tract of homes. That's all I can say. That's all we want.
Pixie, we have a dark sky ordinance that says we want to see the stars at night.
That's right.
And that's what's in the city of La Quinta. So we don't allow heavy lighting.
But there's still gonna need security
Well,
lights.
still have to be lights there, that's for sure.
Shine down, no
Yeah,
shining
I don't
down.
want to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dixie. That's all the requests I have to speak. Unless there's somebody else. I think a lot's been said. So at this point, I'll close the calendar.
Oh, all right. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to put my name down. I drove from Los Angeles.
Please, give us your name and address.
Steve Mamdesian, 1823 Hills Serenata Drive in La Quinta. One thing that kind of strikes me odd is I'm a business owner. I own coffee shops. I own coffee shops in Westfields Mall in West Covina, and as far as in Guangzhou, China. To do a project like this, you really would need a lot of people address it. You didn't need, and unfortunately, if I was to start a business or open a coffee shop, I would never open up a coffee shop at the corner of 58th and Monroe because you don't have enough people that will support it, or a restaurant for that matter. I mean, the 111 that the gentleman spoke of obviously was developed over a period of time, and this is a project that's probably about 15, 20 years ago. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name's Jim Marino, and I own properties at the southeast and southwest corners of 58th and Madison. And I will tell you that when I bought those properties, I had Stater Brothers, Fresh and Easy, all 4 drugstores, 3 community banks, Bank of America, Starbucks, and a laundry list of other shop tenants that have all dissipated. So my comment to Mr. Hammer's property is that I think that it's just not a viable commercial property. And frankly, neither is mine at this point. I would guess I'm probably 3 to 4 years away from developing that site. And I've owned it since 2007. So I wish Mr. Hammer would have bought my site. I wish I had gotten that phone call, but I mean, I admire his endeavor, but that's not commercial site. And Gary Drummond would support my site over that site, hands down. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
One more, just one more.
Hey, just a minute. You've already had your chance up here. You know, I like to be courteous and let you.
Charles Clinton in Piazza Serena. No one doubts and sincerity about this. The main problem with this has been no communication. You know, PGA West and Alicia, that's not talking to us. I've been there since 2007. This is my 4th year on the board. Nobody made an attempt to say, hey, we'd like to do this. What do you think? It's a communication problem. We didn't get it. Less than 30 days, we've been battling this. So there's the problem.
Yeah, communications is very important. All right, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing and the matters before the council. Lee? Sure, go ahead.
Got to. The aspect of commercial use on that piece, I should say the aspect of viability of commercial use on that piece, I can't speak to that. That's up to Mr. Hammer and him. The aspect of development on this piece for commercial use on the west side of Monroe would be subject to the code of La Quinta. And as you are well aware, the development aspect on the east side of Monroe would all be asked to this county, Riverside County. And trust me, there is a substantial difference between our code for construction versus the county, or I should say from a development standpoint. And the aspect of a developer that lives here, has been here for many years, versus someone coming in and coming out is also something. But, you know, it's up to Mr. Hammer what happens. But one of the items that we have tonight that I'd ask the council, we've got this letter from T&B Planning, as well as a letter from Shepherd Mullen, all regarding the environmental assessment of this property. And I think we should continue this item to give our legal department an opportunity to review their correspondence, all received yesterday, regarding their environmental concern, so that they have an opportunity to assess it and see what Kathy thinks of our environmental position and any legal challenges that we may have to that.
Comments, Kathy?
Yeah, I think we would need to do it. It's a pretty substantial letter.
Protect the city.
If you want to consider that matter further, if you're not inclined to consider the matter further, you don't need to continue it.
Okay. Christie?
So if we don't consider it any further.
I'm sorry, if you deny it, you don't need to certify the negative declaration. The negative declaration is actually not even on the agenda tonight. So even if you wanted to approve it, you really wouldn't be in a position to approve it because it's not listed in the agenda title.
Okay.
So you really couldn't take an action tonight to approve the project. At best, you'd be able to continue it and have it put on the agenda properly. But I am concerned, having read the letters, that we would need to revisit the negative declaration based upon the comments.
Terry?
Well, having seen this when I arrived here today, I knew that somebody was going to have to review it and tell us what, I mean, there was no way that we could even read this document, and I think it's a shame that there isn't some kind of a legal device that if somebody's going to question the environmental documents, they gotta get that in at least 3 days before a public hearing. But that doesn't exist, and so we have these challenges here. And I think that in order to make a very clean decision as to whether we would like to see that as a commercial piece of land or not, we would first need to clear this issue. So I think at this point I support continuance on this. I'm just not sure how long, whether it would be just, well, it would be probably to the second meeting of January at this point.
That sounds about right.
Okay, because that gives you folks an opportunity to do what you have to do, and so that would be my recommendation, to continue it to the second meeting of January.
I guess my thoughts are, you know, looking at the public hearing we had on what's now called the Signature Project, that was many years in its development, and there were a lot of back and forth, pros and cons. And what it boiled down to is not only collaboration, communication, but it was a timing issue. And what was the original plan with the time and the economics, long before I was even on council, was the right thing to do. And then as it evolved, things changed. And while I appreciate, and I've learned just through this process, some of the other projects that the Hammers have developed in the city of La Quinta, I recognize the desire for economic development and business and to make money, because everybody's in the business to make money, and it would benefit the city of La Quinta potentially for sales tax revenue, et cetera. But I also look at that niche and the commercial zone property, the Marino property that is down the road a ways, wishing that all those things you mentioned were a viable option, because that would be great. Because I wonder when you're in Trilogy how long it takes to get to a place to get a cup of coffee or buy groceries. You've got to plan those trips. And while I would appreciate that a neat commercial development could occur in that little niche and it might be nice, there is no guarantee there won't be a gas station. And you're right, Joe, the fact that a gas station even came up is the kiss of death, obviously, with the discussion and the traffic and the justification and knowing the mayor's experience with gas stations and their demand. Is it a great place for residential either with the electric towers? Maybe, maybe not. Some of you live by them and apparently you're okay with them. But in my opinion, I feel like it's about timing right now. And clearly, if we said yes tonight, nothing's gonna happen probably economically on that property for a period of time. So what's the rush? Maybe there will be a different demand, maybe there will be a plan, maybe there will be people that are saying, Joe, I have the money and I want to do this, let's make this change happen. Those entities aren't here right now, and when we look at spot zone changing like this, it could be, I don't want to say dangerous, but it just could just mess up what our general plan represents, knowing that we've got to find commercial in those areas based on how the growth happens. So I don't necessarily support a continuance at this point. I just don't think the timing's right now to make the zone change, and I would approve the staff recommendation to deny the request change at this particular time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I spent the other day driving the whole area. I just wanted to see what was there, refamiliarize myself with the area and that to make sure, although I live pretty close to it, but yeah, I never drive east. I never head in that direction. I go to Trilogy periodically, play a little golf, Andalusia, I know the people that are there, but never further east. And I'm with Linda there. To me, at the present time, or in the foreseeable future, I just can't see the development going on that would support something like this. And the worst thing in the world, if you've ever seen a closed gas station, they're terrible. You know, it looks something totally out of place. And I've seen them over the years that I worked for Shell. As much as I think there is a need for a small commercial area to take care of it, even the one that I was dealing with at Madison in '58, they said, and this was just a couple of years ago, he says, it's just not there yet. That's why they wouldn't build. They wanted to go in and build, and then they went through all the hoops and jingles and said, summertime, you might as well just close up. And that you might break even during the winter, but the summertime. And I dealt with the Grady Sparks at Andalusia and the people out at Trilogy and that, and they all want something close by so that they don't have to drive all the way down Jefferson to Ralph's and that to get a quart of milk. But you know, it's got to be profitable, or you're just not going to make it. And Joe, you said you're in there to make money, and rightfully so. But I just can't see it at the present time, and it just isn't there. Frank and I are dealing with Riverside County now, and there could be a change. They've made an offer, and we're going to see how it works out about sharing revenues, which we can't get right now in residential property. And then maybe at that time, things will change in the eastern part in our sphere of influence. I don't know, but we're going to take a shot at it. So I kind of go along with Linda at the present time with this issue, strictly because I just don't think it'll fly.
Well, while all of the discussion here is spot on, it's a matter of connecting the dots if you can, and in some places you can't. I do feel, as I indicated, in order to make a clean decision on this, that I'd be making it based on that it's legal, if you will, and as long as this is hanging over my head, I don't necessarily feel that I can make that decision this evening. So I just as soon have the opportunity to have this reviewed. I don't believe that that's going to happen. I don't even believe it's going to happen in 2 years, if that were somehow some predicted time in the future. So, I know where Joe is sitting, if he can't get the zoning, he's going to have that much more trouble getting a developer to come on board. And the difference between this property and your property is the size. And what you were looking at did entail quite a number of outlets of one sort or another.
Well, I have 5 acres and 8 acres.
Okay.
Both sides of Madison.
Okay, all right,
So-
thank you.
So the 5 acres is like Joe's.
Yes,
It's the graded
that's
property.
comparable.
Yeah.
So thank you for clearing that up for me. So anyway, I would still favor continuance.
Further comments?
I can see what you're saying, Terry, with respect to making a clean decision. But in terms of necessity, the need for this, I don't see it. And I think that there has been a lack of communication with
Oh,
these
that's-
folks
no
who
doubt.
are very concerned. And I would be in favor of denying that upzoning. Upzoning is, as you were saying, it's tricky.
Mhm.
What you do is you increase the value of the property incredibly. And as a council, I think that we have to be very careful about doing that. And spot zoning is not good.
No, and obviously, you make a good point, and I was here when the last general plan was approved, and I think that was March the 8th of 2000.
Yeah.
And that took 3 or 4 years, 5 years to get that general plan to the point that we did. And we had lots of discussion about this area. And in a way, if or I remember, the discussion was brought about, a lot of it, by Vista Santa Rosa and their desire for what their vision was for their community. And the zoning that we kept in that area was intentional to begin the creation of a relationship with the Vista Santa Rosa people. So, turning it around now would almost be justifying their concern that it was going to develop in a haphazard way. So, in no way was I indicating that getting this clean here was getting me a yes on the desired change. But it would have cleared my mind a little better, so.
And just further, there is a need for some kind of commercial. But if we think back to that piece that was at PGA West where Jefferson and PGA Boulevard come together, there was a commercial piece there that sat there for years.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
No, they could not put the marketing numbers together to
Sure.
make it go year round.
That's
And
right.
so, Kennedy's is nice. My mother lives at Trilogy and she's 95 and she makes it to Ralph's okay. She drives. And she goes right along Monroe Street. She goes by this all the time. But, and I think from her house at Trilogy, it's like 8.5 minutes or something to get to the store. So she would love to have something closer that she could go to. But again, I can't see upzoning this when I don't think it's gonna fly commercially.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can appreciate, now's obviously not the time from a development standpoint, but we've got the housing tract down there at Monroe and Avenue 61, and that's 20 acres, and then another 40 acres, right, Cave Mills is 40 acres, and then across the street on Avenue 60 in Monroe is another 40 acres.
There's 32,000 homes going to be built in that area.
So there's going to be quite a substantial amount of homes somewhere in the future. And this piece with those power lines, I would hate to have any residential units in that 4 acres with those power lines. I think that'd be a huge mistake. So from a timing standpoint, I don't know. I can't tell the future on when it would be viable and when it would not be viable. But I know that with those power lines, it should be commercial, and with all the development to the south coming at some point, it should be commercial. If we're gonna have a developer on that piece, I would rather have a developer that lives here and has been here for the last 20+ years to do it versus someone that comes in, puts a plan on it, and sells it and leaves, and doesn't have the vesting that Mr. Hammer does. But that's my concern, that if it's going to be commercial, and it probably will someday, that'll be a quality piece. And that La Quinta has the opportunity to say what's going to be there and what it's going to look like versus across the street from Riverside County. I think we'd have I think you would have a much better product under La Quinta's guidelines versus Riverside County. But that's for your sake. But I don't know when that it should be a viable product. I can't say.
Yeah,
But it will be needed at some point in the future.
Well, it's
If
good,
they-
you know, I mean, it's really nice, but I don't think it's gonna make it.
It can't fly financially. Anyways, I'll entertain a motion by somebody.
Okay, I move approval of resolution number 2013-055, a resolution of the City Council of the City of La Quinta, California, denying General Plan Amendment 2013-126 from low density residential to general commercial for a 4.35 acre parcel.
Second.
Then moved in second. Unless there's any comments, please vote. Okay, motion passes. All right. We're all done.
Well, then we will also move approval, Mr. Mayor, of resolution number 2013-056, a resolution of the City Council of the City of La Quinta, California, denying zone change 2013-144 from low density residential to neighborhood commercial for a 4.35 acre parcel.
Moved in second, please vote. Motion passes. Okay, we'll move on to number 3, item on public hearings. Adopt a resolution to approve the use of fiscal year 2014-2015 community development block grant funds and authorize city manager to submit application to Riverside County Economic Development Agency. Staff report?
I'm not sure we need one, Mr. Mayor. This is routine in nature.
Okay.
So it's a public hearing. We just need to go.
You good with that? Okay.
We just need to go right to the public hearing.
Okay. At this point, then I'll open up the public hearings. The public has disappeared. So I'll close the public hearing and the matters before the council.
Okay.
Resolution number.
I'm sorry, I apologize. One question I did have. The aspect on this, and shoot, I can't even find the page for this. What page is that on?
197.
Thank you. Here it is. In the past on this project, we have always had, again, $30,000 to the Boys and Girls Club, and I realize it's a formula-based. So what has changed to bring that number from 30,000 down to 21,000?
Well, as you'll recall, the last few years, the federal allocation has been lower than the estimate. So in talking with Riverside County EDA, this year, we decided to lower the overall estimate. There's a cap on public service dollars.
Right, I
And so
understand.
that's why that came down to what it is this time.
Because the overall grant is lower, that has
Our
lowered that
estimate,
automatically.
we took a much more conservative position because, as you know, the last few years, we've had to come back to you and identify a reduced amount. So we went ahead and, again, talked with the county and brought that number down to what's been proposed.
Okay,
to the
thank
city.
you. And then, Mr. Mayor, if I can, under comments, I think that we had put a substantial amount of money into Vista Dunes when we made that into housing. And so I think we should put the balance of the funds, all of it, into our parks and not the $13,000 into the Vista Dunes. I think the person running the Vista Dunes and taking the rents on that property can afford to put in their own lighting. So I would move that, or I would suggest that we take, the 19,310 plus 104,690, the combined funds to our parks.
Okay.
Don't we have to do certain amount CIP or?
No, the only cap you have is with regards to public service. So the capital items, it's at your discretion. The only thing is a minimum $10,000 is amount per project is recommended by the county, just because of the amount of paperwork we have to go through for that. So it's at your pleasure as to how you'd like to, to divide up those dollars when it comes to the capital project. So we identified for the first time this year the ADA. As you recall, there was an ADA plan that was done here about a year or so ago.
It took all of our CIP.
And we found out from the county that pretty much all of those identified deficiencies, if you will, qualify for CDBG dollars. So that's why we proposed the vast majority of that money go into that, and then we identified the Vista Dunes project as well. But the only thing that you're restricted to, if you will, is a maximum allowance for the public service dollars, and we've identified or recommended to you all of those going to the fee waiver reduction program at the Boys and Girls Club.
So I would suggest then of the $145,000, $21,000 for the Boys and Girls Club and $124,000 for the ADA improvements necessary to our public parks.
Now, the only thing, Lee, that I'm concerned about, not in making the shift that you've suggested there, cross that out. I was anticipating something different coming out, so.
Okay.
So you should have never anticipated, Terry.
So I have
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
Am I good?
Sure.
Okay. So we're saying approximately 145,000, so if that comes in at a higher number, you're saying you're being conservative, then the Boys and Girls Club number will go up?
We have to come back to you to confirm those numbers once it's been finalized. So at that time, if it were higher or lower, we're coming back to you, and then you're able to confirm that at that time. So what we'd anticipate is that it would proportionately adjust to whatever you allocated the funds to. So if it went from 145 to 175, then the proportionate amount of increase, we'd max out the amount for the Boys and Girls Club, and then we'd anticipate the rest would go, and we'd divide that up based on what you decide tonight for the capital improvements.
Okay.
Okay. Unless there's any other questions?
No? Did you make the motion?
There's no motion yet.
I can.
I don't think we've made a motion yet.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a motion.
Well, I just want
Oh,
to chat a
okay.
little bit more about this the Vista Dunes Apartment Community Center. So currently, there's no security fencing or property lighting or anything there? Is that what this is saying?
No, there is a certain amount of that there. They're wanting to enhance what's existing right there. And as I understand it, a lot of it has to do with, they have a program that occurs at Vista Dunes that's
Right.
a community program.
Mhm.
It's an after-school into the evening program. They want to improve the lighting for that. So it benefits not only Vista Dunes residents, but other income qualified residents, primarily in North La Quinta.
I'd have to go along with giving them the 19. I don't think I want to take that away.
Well, my concern is, I mean, they have the rent income on those properties. Why can't they pay for it themselves with the monies that they're earning on that property?
Well,
Why should we pay it for them?
I don't know the answer to that.
Do you guys have any?
Well, it's a good question. I guess our position on it was that when it was built, it was adequate to serve the project as designed. They're identifying that they'd like to see those improvements. They're obviously hopeful because it's a program not only in the apartment complex, but also with the program they're providing on site. It's all income qualified. They're obviously looking for any assistance that they can find to help with those improvements. But National Renaissance is their intent is to continue to provide, obviously, they're obligated to provide a quality, affordable project for the residents, but they're also, again, adding that service in to provide the after-school service to the income qualified residents beyond the project. So
Aren't they collecting all the rents on that property?
they are, absolutely.
And there's no debt that they're paying on that property.
And we,
I mean, are they paying debt on that property with those rent incomes?
Oh, yeah, because they have a mortgage, and they're also.
Didn't we pay for that with our bonding and our RDA?
No, we paid for the difference between the mortgage that rents could support, plus they are paying money to the tax credit investor for the tax credit equity money on the project. So it's not mortgage-free. It's not a huge mortgage, and I don't remember the dollar amount, but they are paying a mortgage payment on it.
Do we get a financial statement, monthly or yearly or
We get
quarterly?
we get quarterly financial statements, and we get annual audits.
Okay, how do we stand with this quarterly statements? I mean, are we showing a profit or are we showing a loss on the statement?
Basically, that project's designed to break even.
Yeah.
They don't make a profit. They cover their management expenses, they cover their mortgage expenses, they cover their reserve for replacement costs and their programming costs.
Okay, replacement costs and maintenance.
Right.
And so they want something new, can't they take that out of that?
There's a potential.
Budgeted?
There's a potential they could take it out of that, their reserve for replacement account. They were looking at this as an opportunity to seek another level of funding, and the other aspect of that project is that they offer programming that not only serves the residents, but serves the greater North La Quinta area.
Yeah, well, anybody has to know that they need replacement, they need enhancement. Things change as things get old, and they need to provide for that. And wouldn't this fall under that provisions?
No, because this is looking to expand their existing activities. And so, being prudent managers, they're sitting there saying, okay, we have this replacement reserve. Instead of tapping that, if we can tap this money to do these improvements, then if things occur with the apartment units or occur with the swimming pool equipment or that, they're not short the $20,000.
So if they need something beyond that, then they come to the city.
They saw this as an opportunity to submit this application as part of the block grant funding. Basically, what we did is we identified that this funding was available and opened up applications just like we did to CBHC and some of the other groups, and they submitted requests to try to get extra funding so they didn't have to tap into their reserves.
So there was a bidding process?
Yes.
It's an open application process. Every year we
Yeah,
solicit,
there is,
we
yeah.
distribute out, and what you're seeing in the entire package is all of the applications that came in during the solicitation.
Okay. I just remember how much we paid for that, and it was substantial.
That's why we got the platinum lead.
Yeah. Oh gosh, what did we pay for those old trailers? But anyway.
Anyways, let's get back to entertain a motion.
No, nobody
No,
did yet.
I just wanted to throw that out there and see what you guys thought about it.
Well, I
And
just,
your thoughts on it.
But hearing the discussion, I mean, they're doing the smart thing, but are we?
Well, that's.
I mean, are we giving them money because they did the smart thing and we opened it up for a bid? Or should we keep that money and put it in the ADA and the parks and, because we have problems too, especially with parks and, the rest of it. I know we can't do lighting and landscaping, but, you know, I don't know, I mean, I give them a lot of credit. Should I give them credit and not us?
But we're doing the exact same thing by saying, oh, boy, the ADA that we already budgeted and allocated CIP for now qualifies for this, so why don't we just plug it in here? They're doing the same thing, and we've always had just.
But the bottom line is it starts with us.
I understand that, but if there's an open process and open application, we've always had the same two entities. It's always been something towards the city and Boys and Girls Club, which I support, and here's another source of improvements of properties that we helped develop under the former RDA, that wouldn't we want to continue to maintain a safe environment if they're looking to expand beyond just their residents and they're offering programs to their community and we're assisting it? How is that different than assisting the fee waiver program? We're providing another safe place for.
I'm not sure that it is
the community.
different, and I'm not sure that we should be support the fee waiver program. And we also have a grant program. Couldn't we transfer this into our grant program? A lot of people use their CBD funds for their grant program.
That's true.
They'd have to be qualifying, and Les would have to help me out on this, but the things that you would spend them on would have to qualify.
It's very limiting, and ironically enough, we're having a discussion on something that we historically haven't had a problem with, because on the capital side, it's the most difficult area for qualification. And we were elated to find out that we could utilize these funds for the ADA program, because we were quite concerned as to where we could use these dollars. We've been replacing sidewalks in the village area for the last 8, 9, 10 years, because it's the only geographically qualified area in the entire city.
Right.
So ironically enough, we get not only our own application, we actually get another capital application. I think that this is the first time in my 8+ years here that we've had this situation on the capital side. It's always on the public service. We always get 2, 3, 4, or 5. And the reason why we made the recommendation we did was because we know that the ADA situation is going to take years, if we ever get to replacing everything on that very extensive list. And we know that this is a likely source of funding that will qualify for many years to come unless the CDBG program goes away. So we view that as this is a long-term commitment to address those ADA deficient matters, and now we have a source of funding that we thought we could rely on for many years to come, and so we thought this was realistic to throw that other one in there with this.
Well, did you have anything
No,
else?
I was ready to make a motion based on that.
Well, I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion, resolution number 2013 dash
057.
A resolution, City of La Quinta, California, adopting proposal authorizing city manager to submit application for community block grant for fiscal year 2014-2015 in the amount of $124,000 for the, strike that. I'll go with the staff recommendation of $104,690 for the ADA improvements on the parks, $19,310 for Vista Dunes, and $21,000 for the Boys and Girls Club.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Please vote.
That's what they want to do. That's what they, yeah.
Okay,
That's what they
motion passes. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Move to second, please vote. We are adjourned.
Here.